That brings us to Arkansas Pine Bluff head coach Monte Coleman. Is Coach Coleman on the call?
Yes, I am.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Your team off to a 2-0 start in the conference race and headed to St. Louis this weekend. If you could just kind of summarize last Saturday's game and then talk about what you see from Clark Atlanta, and we'll open it up for questions.
Well, last week we traveled to Houston to play Prairie View, and it was a heavyweight fight. I felt very fortunate to come out of there with the victory. They played extremely well. They started fast. They played hard. We made mistakes, and we were able to overcome some of the mistakes. And like I said, the most important thing was to come out with the victory.
Okay.
But it was a heavyweight fight. We had injuries to key players. We had 3 safeties. Back to back, which I've never seen or never been a part of in playing or in coaching. To have 3 safeties back to back, but for whatever reason, my guys have continued to fight and come back against 2 very good football teams in 2 weeks, and of course, it makes me real proud. But like I said, it was definitely a heavyweight fight against Prairie View this past weekend. First time that I've beaten them in my career as head coach, and I'm very fortunate and very blessed for that. They're a very good football team, very well coached, and like I said, I feel good this morning after that victory. We are heading to St. Louis. We're waiting and downloading tape on Clark Atlanta. We did play them last year in St. Louis. They're a Division II school out of Atlanta, of course. A very good football team, a very aggressive defense. I have some very key players. I don't know a whole lot this morning about them specifically, but other than they are a good football team, and we will travel and do our very best against them this upcoming week, and hopefully come out with another victory.
We'll open it up for questions for head coach Coleman from Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Coach Coleman, I.C. Morrell, Pine Bluff Commercial.
Yes,
hey, you're off to a 2-0 start in conference play. I know that's always special when UAPB gets off to a 2-0 start. How do you handle that going forward?
Well, I see basically it's one game at a time. We're not looking past Clark Atlanta for any of the other SWAC schools at this time. We're just taking it one game at a time, and that's the only way we can do it. We'll concentrate this today. We'll finalize our game with film on Prairie View, and once we finish that, it's all Clark Atlanta. So to answer your question, it's one game at a time, not looking ahead for any other games.
Now, you have had some slow starts, I think, in each of your 3 ball games. You almost came from 16 points down your first game. You came from 10 points down to win your second game. Here, 15 points game. Any explanation for the slow start?
At this time, no. That's one of the things that I spoke with in my staff meeting this morning. I spoke with the coaches concerning the slow start. It's great character building, great team building to be able to come back from a deficit like we've done the last 2 weeks. But I want us to start off fast, to play 60 minutes, and that's what we're not doing the whole game right now. We're starting off way too slow. And I've challenged the coaches to make sure that we are practicing, preparing ourselves in a faster manner, that we can get off to a faster start, so we can take some of the pressures off of us late in the ball games.
Right. You say you can't take Clark Atlanta lightly, but what approach do you take with them, knowing that you're stepping away from SWAC play, possibly building up some momentum in the SWAC right now?
Well, we're looking at our overall record when we play conference games, of course, and you definitely want to win those. It's going to be a good football game based off of what they did last year. Have a very aggressive defense, good offensive players, and the thing that we want to do, we want to be 3-1 after that particular football game. We don't want to drop just because they're in a Division II school. We want to win that football game. So that's the motivation. Is not necessarily from a SWAC perspective, but just from an overall record perspective. We want to win this football game.
Right. And what improvements, and maybe I asked you this before, for. But what improvements do you want to make with the offensive line? You know, coming off Anderson's 7 sacks right there, and then penalties, I think there were like 17 of them right there. Like I said, it took away a lot of long returns right there. You explained the snapping situation that led to the penalties, but, you know, still it looks like a few team issues. What do you want to do to improve, you know, or to address the issues on the offensive line, the penalties, and the special teams?
Well, basically, you know, we don't want the penalties. We had more penalties this game than we've had in 2 or 3 ball games. We did record 17. Some, you know, we'll send some in to the league. Let Mr. Mitchell sort it out. But for the records right now, it's gone down as a penalty. We've got to become a better disciplined football team when it comes to the penalties. As far as the offensive line, you know, 7 sacks, that's a lot. I take my hat off to the coaching staff at Prairie View. They had a good scheme, and they beat us on some occasions to get the sack. So, you know, it's kind of a twofold deal. They beat us some, and we gave up some. The thing that we've got to do, and I talked with the coaches this morning, that we've got to shore up the offensive line to make sure that we don't give up 7 sacks in the future. And they assured me that they have some other schemes that we can't go to that we will administrate throughout the year, throughout the week.
Coach Coleman, good morning. Charles Evans from WPRL.
Good morning, Charles.
Just curious, I know you all are regular participants in the Gateway Classic. What has made that Classic so attractive for you in UAPB?
Well, our fans, first of all, the alumni. We have a huge alumni base there in St. Louis. It's a great time to get together with a lot of the UAPB family from around the country. They use that as kind of like a second homecoming for us. A lot of our fans travel to St. Louis. It's in the month of October. Is it not? I don't know when it is. It's next week. It's not October. It's still September. But a lot of folks go there to get a jump start on their Christmas shopping also. So it's a fan type deal where you play in that classic, and we travel very strong. So it's in our best interest to attract us to the Gateway Classic, the promoters. And I think our fans and families enjoy that trip to St. Louis.
Coach, when you look at your defense, you've got 2 players ranked at the top 5 in tackles. Bill Ross, who's a freshman, and as well as Dalton. Talk about those 2 and how your defense has really stepped up, especially in the second half of games.
Well, actually, Bill is a junior college transfer. He's a junior this year. Bill Ross is. Arizona Military Academy, junior college. And Joe Dalton was actually on the team last year, suffered a shoulder injury and didn't play, but he's also a junior college player that transferred in. But both of these guys are playing very well. They're leading our defense right now. They're running to the football. The All-American, preseason All-American, Jerian Harris, has been hampered with a hamstring, so we hadn't been able to put him on the field. And I'm just elated that these 2 guys have really stepped up to carry the load while Harris is working on his hamstring. And we're expecting them back possibly this week to play. And it would be exciting to see all 3 of those guys on the field.
Coach, talk about your 2 running backs. They combined for 170 yards. Jones and Jenkins doing a nice job with your 1-2 punch.
Jones is a young man who's got great work ethic. He's a senior this year. He's been consistent for us. He's been more of a first down. He's been more of a short yardage back for us in the past. But because of injuries and because of just the way he's running the football, we've used him a little bit more in a different role this year. And he's actually done a great job. I think he had 86 yards this particular game passed, and the one before against Alcorn, he also had 86 yards. So he's running the football real well, strong runner, protects the football, and he's done a good job. Jenkins is a young man that we were able to get a transfer in this year. He got great eyes and good moves, good speed, and he stepped in and played well for us the last 2 ball games also. So between those 2 and Adrian Moore and Justin Billings, and those 4 guys will be the ones that's going to carry the load for us. And the good thing about it is when one's not doing well, we have the ability to substitute one of the others. And these past two ball games, Stephen Jones has been that one to